Dembo, the elephant, woke up one morning and took a tour in the forest looking for friends. He ran into a monkey and asked him, "Can we be friends, monkey? You're too big, and you can't swing on trees like me, so I can't be your friend," said the monkey. Then he left.
Then he met a frog and asked him if he could be his friend. "You're too big and heavy, and you can't jump like me." "I'm sorry, you can't be my friend," said the frog. Then Dembo met a snake and asked him to be his friend, and he received the same answer, that he's too big and cannot be a snake's friend. The next day, all the animals in the forest were running in fear. Dembo stopped a bear and asked him what was happening. The bear said that a tiger was attacking every animal in sight. Dembo wanted to save the weak animals, so he went to the tiger and said, "Please, sir, leave my friends alone. Don't eat them." The tiger didn't listen to Dembo and told him to mind his own business. So, the elephant kicked the tiger and frightened him. The tiger ran away. Dembo then returned to the other animals and told them what had happened. When they heard how the elephant had saved their lives, they all said in harmony, "Your size is just right to become our friend." The animals realized that a friend is not measured by his shape, size, or color, but by loyalty and love.
Once upon a time, when the sun was going down, a wise old rooster flew to a tree near the farm to rest. He flapped his wings and crowed loudly, but suddenly he saw a fox standing below him. The fox was hungry and wanted to gobble up the rooster, so he cunningly and slyly thought and told him in a loud voice, "Have you heard the great news?" The wise rooster was terrified and calmly asked, "And what is the great news?" "All the animals have held a peace treaty and agreed to forget their disagreements, and to live in peace and friendship from now on. Just think about it. I can't wait to hug you. Come on, my dear friend, let's celebrate this happy occasion," said the fox. "That's great news. I'm definitely happy about this news," said the rooster. Then the rooster stood on his tiptoes as if looking at something afar. The fox anxiously asked, "What do you see, my friend?" "It looks like there are two dogs coming this way. They must have heard the good news and are coming to celebrate with us," replied the rooster. The fox didn't wait to hear the rest and began running. "Wait. Why are you running? The dogs are our friends now," yelled the rooster. "Yes, but maybe they haven't heard the news, and I have an errand I almost forgot," replied the fox. The rooster smiled while tucking his head into his feathers to sleep, for he had overcome a cunning enemy. Only a stupid person treats people as if they're stupid. Once upon a time, there was a hungry dog, searching for food. After a long exhausting search, the dog smelled a delicious aroma, so he went closer and found a piece of meat. He was delighted, picked it up, and decided he would return home to eat and rest. But to reach his house, he had to cross a wooden bridge over a lake. While he was passing, he looked at the lake and saw his shadow reflected on the water's surface. He thought there was another dog carrying another piece of meat. Dog thought for a moment and decided to take the other piece of meat as well. So, he attacked his reflection in the water and the piece of meat he was carrying fell into the water, sank deeply and disappeared. The dog came out of the water, wet and unhappy, after he lost his piece of meat and returned home with no food at all because of his greed. The dog learned that being content and satisfied leads to happiness. Greed leads to misery.
There was a poor woodcutter living in a small village. He did his job well and was honest and loyal. He headed to the nearby forest every morning to cut the trees down, then gather the wood he cut, and take it to the village to sell and earn money. He hardly earned a living but was content with simple blessings. One day, when he was cutting the trees near the river, his axe fell from his hand into the river. The woodcutter searched for the axe in the water but couldn't find it. He didn't have another axe, so he burst into tears because he would not be able to work anymore. A genie appeared while he was crying and asked, "Why are you crying?" "My axe disappeared in the river, and I don't have another one, and I can't work without it," said the woodcutter. "Don't worry, I'll help you find it," said the genie. The genie dug into the river and came out holding a golden axe. "Is this your axe?" he asked the woodcutter. "No, my axe is made of steel," replied the woodcutter. So, the genie disappeared and quickly returned with a silver axe. The woodcutter once again denied the axe was his and said, "My axe is made of steel." The genie dug into the river again and quickly showed up holding the woodcutter's steel axe. "Is this your axe?" he again inquired. "Yes, that's my axe," replied the woodcutter. The woodcutter was happy, and he thanked the genie for lending him a hand. "Why didn't you take the golden or silver axes when I offered them to you?" asked the genie. "Because they're not mine, and perhaps someone else lost them," said the woodcutter. The genie was touched with the woodcutter's honesty and offered him the golden and silver axes in appreciation of his honesty, for loyalty and honesty
In a green
attract
valley,
blessings.
the sun was shining, the grass was plentiful, and the flock was feeding and enjoying both nature and the delicious grass. There was one small sheep who loved to eat a lot. Over time, he wandered here and there looking for fresh delicious grass, and was unaware that he had strayed far from his flock. The hungry wolf was closely following him, waiting for the shepherd to lose sight of him. When the little sheep realized he was lost and far away from the flock, he decided to go back and join them again. Meanwhile, the wolf suddenly came out of hiding. The sheep was terrified, certain that he wouldn't get away from the wolf, so he thought of a trick that might work. He asked the wolf, "Are you going to eat me?" "Yes, I am," said the wolf. "Can you wait for a while? I've eaten a lot of grass, and my tummy is full of grass. If you eat me now, you'll feel as if you're eating grass, so you better wait until it's digested," said the lamb. The wolf thought for a moment, then said, "Fine, I'll wait. I've been watching you for a while, and I can wait some more." Yes. The lamb's trick worked, but now what? Time passed quickly, and the wolf was getting ready again to kill the lamb. But the lamb stopped him again, saying, "Dear wolf, please wait some more. The grass hasn't been digested yet. If you eat me now, you will find a lot of grass in my tummy. Let me dance, that will make it digest easier." The wolf was annoyed, but agreed to wait a bit longer so he could eat delicious meat, free of the taste of grass. The little lamb madly danced for a while, then he suddenly stopped. "Why have you stopped?" asked the wolf. "I can't dance without any music. Do you see this bell around my neck? Can you untie it and shake it hard so I can dance quickly, to digest the grass in my tummy?" asked the lamb. The wolf was ready to do anything to eat the lamb, so he untied the bell on the lamb's neck and shook it as hard as he could. Meanwhile, the shepherd was looking for the little lamb and heard the bell ringing. He saw the wolf and the lamb, so he ran toward the wolf with his stick. When the wolf saw the shepherd, he ran away. The little lamb was saved by his own cleverness. The little lamb learned from this situation that even someone weak can win over the mighty using tricks.
Once upon a time, there was a wise man living in a small village with poor villagers who knew him for his wisdom. The villagers had been coming to him to complain about their situation and poverty, while others looked for answers to their problems. And the wise man listened to them all and generously helped them. But the villagers were always complaining about the same problems that they had faced in their lives every single time. One day, the wise man gathered them and told them a joke, and everybody laughed. He then told them the same joke again, and only a few of them smiled. When he told the joke for the third time, nobody laughed. The wise man smiled and said, "You can't laugh at the same joke over and over, so why are you always crying over the same problem? Worrying won't solve your problems. Instead, it wastes your time and energy. You must let go of complaining and face your problems so you can come up with a suitable solution."
An old man with his 3 sons. The 3 sons worked hard and did most of the work to help their father. Yet, they always fought. The old man tried to work it out between them and unite them, but in vain. And even though the villagers appreciated their hard work, they made fun of their constant fighting. Months passed by, and the old man became sick and felt his end had come. He gathered his sons around him to give them some advice, asking them to stay united, but they didn't listen to him. So he decided to teach them a practical lesson to make them forget their disagreements and stay united as brothers should be. The old man asked one of his sons to fetch a bundle of sticks and asked each one of them to take 1 stick and break it. The sons agreed, and each one took a stick and easily broke it. Once again, they started fighting about who was first. "My dear sons, the task isn't over yet. Now, all of you should break the bundle all together," said the old man. The sons agreed and tried to break the bundle of sticks. Even though they tried as hard as they could, they weren't able to break the whole bundle and failed in the task. The old man said, "My dear sons, look. You can easily break 1 stick into pieces, but you can't break the whole bundle together. So, if you stay united, no one will be able to hurt you. But if you fight among yourselves and separate, anyone can easily defeat you. Therefore, I'm asking you to always stay united and cooperative." The three sons now understood the strength of unity and the weakness of separation. And they promised their father to stay united. In one of the world's many countries lived a blind man, alone in his small house. He made everything for himself, and almost no one helped him. When he went out at night for some errands, he took a lamp with him to light the road. One night, while he was returning home after having dinner out, he ran into a group of young men traveling. When they found out he's blind, yet still carried a lamp, they mocked him. "Hey, man! You're blind and can't see anything. Why do you carry a lamp?" One of them asked. The blind man replied, "Yes, unfortunately, I'm blind and can't see anything. I carry this lamp for people like you who can see, because you might bump into me if you don't see me coming. That's why I carry this lamp." The young traveling men were ashamed and apologized for their behavior. They learned to think before judging people and to be polite when speaking. Words can hurt someone, even if not on purpose.
At a grocery store in the city lived a large family of mice. It was a perfect place for them to live, for there was plenty of food for all the family members. They had big appetites for all kinds of delicious food. They ate everything: spoiled bags of grain, bread, biscuits, and fruits in the grocery store where they lived. When the grocer saw how the mice had destroyed the goods and bags of food, he was worried about his store and goods, for the mice wasted much of it. So, he thought, "I should buy a cat and let it stay in the store to scare the mice. They will escape to somewhere else, and that way I will be rid of them." And so, the grocer bought a big cat and left him in the store at night, which was when the mice came out to eat. The cat had fun chasing and catching the mice. They weren't able to move freely now because they were afraid of the cat that guarded the grocery store at night.
The mice held an emergency meeting. "We must get rid of the cat. Can someone give a suggestion?" One said. All the mice sat and brooded until a smart-looking mouse stood up and said, "The cat moves softly to sneak up and chase us. That is the problem. If we can tie a bell around his neck, we will be able to know his movements and where he is."
"Yes, that is the answer," said the other mice. An old mouse stood up slowly and asked, "Who would tie the bell around the cat's neck?" All the mice remained silent in fear, and no one answered. So, the old mouse suggested they leave the store and search for another place to live in peace, far from the cat. They all agreed. And that's how the grocer's idea worked. And
One
peace.
hot summer day, the crow was wandering in the fields, looking for water to quench his thirst, until he became tired of searching. He was very weak, but he didn't give up. Then, he saw a pitcher under a tree. He flew toward it to see whether it contained water. Yes, he found water. The crow was happy. He inserted his head into the pitcher to drink, but he found the pitcher's neck too narrow and could not reach the water. He tried to push the pitcher to tilt it, to let the water out, but it was too heavy. The crow thought for a moment, then looked around and saw some pebbles. An idea came to him. What if I put some pebbles in the pitcher so the water level would rise and reach me? So, he started to put his plan into action and began to transfer pebbles, one after another, into the pitcher. Soon the water was deep enough for the crow to drink and quench his thirst. His idea worked, and that made him happy. And that's how the crow learned to never lose hope and strive to get what he wants, no matter the fatigue or effort. William, the salesman, used to go to the market every day to sell the salt he carried on his donkey's back. On their way, they had to cross a small bridge to reach the market. The donkey was lazy, stubborn, always tired, and never wanted to carry anything. One day, the donkey suddenly fell off the bridge into the river, and the salt dissolved in the water, making the bag very light to carry. The donkey came out of the river happy for not having to carry anything, while the salesman returned home sad. The next day, while they were crossing the bridge, the donkey jumped into the river again. He decided to repeat this trick every day. The salt salesman realized the donkey's trick each time they crossed the bridge and decided to teach him a lesson. The next day, the salesman put a bag of cotton on the donkey's back, then headed to the market, then waited for him to play his trick when they crossed the bridge. When the donkey did his trick and jumped into the water on purpose, the cotton absorbed the water and the weight on his back increased. The donkey struggled to get out of the river and get to the market with the wet cotton. The donkey learned his lesson and never played the trick again, and the salesman was very happy that his idea
In
had
a small,
worked.
quiet village, Alex worked as a shepherd for the villagers. Every morning Alex, the shepherd, would take the sheep to the hill to eat grass. Then he would return to the village in the evening. One day, Alex was bored watching the flock on the hill. To entertain himself, he shouted, "Help! Help me! There's a wolf! There's a wolf chasing your sheep!" So, the villagers came running to help the boy and save the sheep, only to find that there was no wolf. Alex laughed while looking at their angry faces after he had lied to them. So, they said with anger, "Don't cry wolf when there is no wolf." Then they went back to the village, annoyed that the boy had frightened them and laughed about it. After a while, Alex repeated the trick and shouted, "Wolf! The wolf is chasing the sheep! Help!" When the villagers arrived, they found out he was lying again. So, the villagers warned him from repeating this again and were very angry with him. They returned to their homes annoyed, while Alex continued watching the flock. After a while still tending the sheep, a wolf showed up and attacked the sheep. Alex saw the wolf and panicked, screaming out loud, "Wolf! The wolf is chasing the sheep! Help me, there's a real wolf! Please, help!" But this time, no one showed up to help. They were tired of his lying. In the evening, when Alex didn't return with the sheep to the villagers wondered what had happened to him. So, they went up the hill and found the boy sitting, weeping. "Why didn't you come when I said the wolf was attacking the sheep?" The sheep are now scattered, and the wolf ran away with his prey," said the angry boy. An old man approached him and said, "People don't believe liars even when they tell the truth. We will look for the sheep tomorrow, but you won't tend them any longer." Alex was very sad, because he had lost his job, and also had lost the trust of the villagers. He learned that when a person is known to be a liar, he remains a liar in people's eyes, even when he tells the truth.
Once upon a time, lived a wise king who ruled fairly and helped the kingdom's people to work and improve their kingdom. The king had 2 sons. He hired teachers and famous scientists to teach them all the arts and sciences. The kingdom's law stated that one of the king's sons would be his heir to rule. Years later, the king became very sick, and he wanted to choose the better of them to be the future king. So, he decided to test his son's intelligence and wisdom. He called for them and gave each one of them a room and said, "You must completely fill this room including all its corners with something. But you must not leave any space behind or ask for anyone's advice." The next day, the king visited the eldest son's room. It was full of hay. The king sighed, realizing how stupid his eldest son was, and left him, annoyed and disappointed. Then he went to his youngest son's room and found it closed. He knocked on the door. His son asked him to come in, so he did and closed the door. It was very dark in the room, so the king shouted, "What's happening?" So, his son lit a candle and said, "I've filled the whole room with light including all its corners." The king was happy and told his son, "Now I rest assured concerning my kingdom when I'm gone, because you will continue on the bright path that I have followed all my life." Cleverness and wisdom are some of the most important characteristics of a successful ruler. Once upon a time, a lion was bored of hunting and chasing animals to catch his prey when hungry. So, he called all the animals and issued an order, "Every day, one of you must come to be my prey." All the animals were afraid, so they held a meeting and decided the rabbit should go first because he was the smallest and weakest among them. The rabbit was terrified. On his way to the lion's den, he came across an old well. He looked into the well, which was deep and dangerous. The rabbit made a sound and it echoed back, so he had an idea to save himself from the lion. The lion was angry because none of the animals had come yet. The rabbit approached, slowly and scared. The lion roared and said, "Why are you late?" "On my way here, Your Majesty, another lion chased me. I barely ran away from him, so I can sacrifice my life to you, my king," replied the terrified rabbit. The lion was pleased with the rabbit. But the thought of another lion in the forest made him angry. The lion roared, "Do you know where that lion lives?" "Yes, Your Majesty." "Please come with me," replied the rabbit. The rabbit took the lion to the old well and said, "Your Majesty, that lion lives in this well." The lion looked inside the well and roared loudly. He heard another roar, which was his own echo, but he didn't realize it and thought it was the other lion's roar. He jumped into the well, and that was the end of the lion. The rabbit was able to save his own life, and all the animals were happy also to be safe, the animals learned that anyone who is unfair can be awfully strong, but one must use the strength of one's mind, as it is undefeatable. One morning, Aziel woke up and reflected on the other animals, and found that he looked totally different. So, he went and asked his mother, "Mommy, why do we have a hump?" "Our humps are for storing water, so we can live in the desert," replied his mother. "Okay, and why do we have rounded feet, Mommy?" said Aziel. The mother replied, "Because they help us walk comfortably in the desert. These legs also help us move around in the sand." "Okay, but why are our eyelashes long?" asked Aziel. "To protect our eyes from the desert dust and sand," replied his mother. The baby camel thought for a while and said, "So we have a hump to store water for desert journeys, rounded hooves to keep us comfortable when we walk in the desert sand, and long eyelashes to protect us from sand and dust during a desert storm. Then what are we doing in this zoo?" The mother was stunned and was unable to answer her child's question. Your strengths, skills, and knowledge are useless if you aren't in the right place. Uncle Melvin lived alone in a big house with a large garden. He was a miser who owned a lot of gold coins and never spent any of them. He kept them in a hole in the garden covered with some stones. Every day, before he went to sleep, he would go to the hole where he hid his gold coins, and counted the stones covering them to make sure the gold was secure in the hole. He repeated this every day and never spent any of the hidden gold. One day, a thief found out about the miser, so he watched him until he learned the gold's location. The thief waited for the miser to return home. And at nightfall, he went to the secret hole and took the gold and ran away. The next day, Melvin, the miser, found the stones on the hole scattered, and the gold missing. He screamed out loud. His neighbor heard his screaming and asked what happened. When the neighbor found out what had happened, he asked, "Why didn't you save the money inside your house? It would have been easier to reach the money when you needed to buy something." "Buy something?" said Melvin. "I've never used the gold to buy anything. I would never spend it." When the neighbor heard Melvin, he threw a stone in the hole and said, "If that is the case, keep this stone instead of the gold. It's as useless as the gold you lost." Uncle Melvin learned that by being stingy, you're only saving money for others to spend. Once upon a time, Jaden and Jordan were neighbors. Jordan owned farmland, while Jaden owned a well full of water. Jordan wished to plant his land, but had no water to irrigate it, so he offered to buy his neighbor's well. Jaden, who was slick and cunning, agreed. When Jordan came to use the well water for irrigation and farming, Jaden refused to allow him. When he asked why, he said he sold him the well, not the water inside the well. Jordan was confused and had no idea what to do. So, he went to a judge to find a solution. The judge called for Jaden, the neighbor, and asked him, "Why won't you allow Jordan to take water from the well?" The cunning neighbor replied with the same answer, "I sold the well, not the water. That's why he can't take the water." "That sounds good to me. And since you've sold the well, and you own the water, then you need to take all the water from inside the well. You must remove the water or use it all right away, replied the judge. Jaden was confused, because he had no idea how to get all the water out of the well, and what could he use it for. So, he found no solution but to let Jordan use the water for irrigation. He apologized to him and left. He learned that being cunning and mean is useless, as the truth will show up and prevail in the end.
In a quiet village surrounded by large green fields, lived a farmer in his big house with a large garden. He was a rich man who raised a lot of animals, including a dog and a donkey. The dog guarded the house, and the donkey carried loads for him. One hot afternoon, the dog was sleeping under the shady balcony. There was some noise outside, so the dog raised up his head, looked outside, and sniffed, then went back to sleep. "Why don't you bark?" "It could be thieves," asked the donkey. "Mind your own business," replied the dog, but the donkey wouldn't listen to him and decided to save his master from the thieves. So he began braying in a loud and annoying voice until the farmer woke up. The farmer came out, angry at the donkey's braying. He had a stick in his hand and hit the donkey so it would stop braying. The dog told the donkey, "You're better off minding your own business and staying away from other people's business."
The Hat Seller and the Monkeys. There was a hat seller in the city who went to the market every day to sell hats, and he returned home with what was left to sell them the next day. One day after he sold some hats, he passed by a forest on his way home. The weather was hot, and he was exhausted. He decided to sit under a big tree to rest in the shade for a while, and quickly fell asleep. There were a lot of monkeys on the top of the big tree. They saw the hat seller sleeping under the tree and wearing a hat. They took the opportunity and came down and took the hats from his bag and put them on, then climbed the tree again. The hat seller woke up to the sounds of the monkeys around him. He was shocked when he saw his bag was empty. He looked for his hats and saw some of the monkeys wearing them. The hat seller tried to think of a way to get his hats back. He sat in place, thinking, and banged his own forehead, waiting for an idea to show up in his head. Meanwhile, he noticed the monkeys were imitating all his moves. He banged his forehead again, and so did the monkeys. Just then, he took his hat off, so the monkeys took their hats off as well. Finally, he had an idea. He threw his hat on the ground, and the monkeys followed along and threw their hats down. The hat seller gathered all the hats and returned them to his bag. Then he happily returned home. Two Friends and the Bear. One day the two friends, Billy and Willie, went to the forest to enjoy the beauty of nature. While they were sitting, they saw a huge bear heading quickly toward them. They were terrified. Billy quickly escaped, and being skilled at climbing trees, ran toward a tree and climbed it. He didn't think of his friend and left him behind, alone with the bear. Willie, who had no choice or any idea how to climb a tree, thought a bit and remembered he had heard that animals don't prefer to eat dead bodies, so he fell on the ground and held his breath. The bear sniffed at him and thought he was dead, so it left and went on its way. Billy came down the tree and asked Willie, "What did the bear whisper in your ear?" "He told me to get away from friends like you, who care only for themselves, for a friend in need is a friend indeed," replied Willie.
Race Against Time. Once upon a moonlit night in the enchanting meadows of Meadowville, lived a clever rabbit named Remy and a mischievous turtle named Tito. One day, they overheard the wise old owl, Oliver, speak of a mystical treasure hidden deep within the Whispering Woods. Legend had it that whoever reached the treasure first would be granted a single wish. Remy, with his swift legs, and Tito, with his persistent determination, decided to embark on this thrilling adventure. The race against time had begun. As the minutes ticked away, Remy dashed through the woods, his heart pounding like a drum. Tito, slower but steady, trailed behind. Suddenly, a fork in the path appeared. Remy, torn between left and right, chose left, hoping it was the correct route. In the shadows, a mischievous grin crept across Tito's face. He had a secret shortcut. As Remy navigated the dense foliage, he felt a mysterious presence. The woods seemed to whisper secrets, adding an eerie suspense to the air. With every passing minute, the suspense heightened. Remy faced obstacles, a thorny thicket, a babbling brook, each testing his resolve. Meanwhile, Tito, sly and strategic, steadily closed the gap. The climax neared as both contestants entered the treasure grove simultaneously. The treasure, shimmering with an ethereal glow, was just within arm's reach. The forest held its breath. Remy, catching his breath, spoke his wish aloud, "I wish for the safety and prosperity of Meadowville." The air quivered as if granting his wish. Tito, moved by Remy's selfless desire, nodded in approval. The moral echoed through the Whispering Woods that night. Time may be a relentless adversary, but a kind heart will always triumph in the race of life. The Enchanted Trinket. Once in the quaint village of Tranquil Haven, there lived a young girl named Aria. She possessed a peculiar trinket, a small, shimmering orb said to hold magical powers. The villagers, fascinated by its glow, often gathered around Aria to witness its enchanting light. One day, a mysterious traveler named Orion visited the village. Intrigued by the tales of the magical trinket, he approached Aria and asked about its origin. With a gleam in her eyes, Aria shared the story of how her grandmother, a wise sorceress, had bestowed it upon her. As night fell, Aria and Orion decided to embark on a journey to the Whispering Woods, a mystical forest where the trinket's true potential could be unlocked. The moon cast a silvery glow on their path as they ventured deeper into the heart of the woods. At the stroke of midnight, they reached a clearing where ancient ruins stood. Aria held the trinket high, and its glow intensified, revealing a hidden inscription on the ruins. Orion, with a knowing smile, deciphered the message that spoke of the trinket's purpose, to illuminate the path for those in need. A sudden rustle in the foliage interrupted their moment of discovery. Out emerged a wounded creature, its eyes reflecting fear. Aria, guided by the trinket's radiant light, approached with compassion. Orion recognized the creature as a guardian of the woods, injured while protecting its kin. With the trinket's magical energy, Aria healed the creature's wounds. As gratitude filled its eyes, the creature spoke, "The trinket you carry is a beacon of compassion. Use its light to guide others through darkness, and you shall be granted the wisdom to mend not just wounds but hearts." From that night onwards, Aria dedicated herself to helping those in need, guided by the enchanted trinket. Tranquil Haven transformed into a haven of kindness and unity, with Aria's light touching every villager's heart. Hare and the Tortoise. One day a hare and a tortoise decide to run a race. Many animals gathered to watch the race. Both the hare and tortoise started running. Hare started off very fast. Soon the tortoise was left very far behind. The hare was sure to win the race and took a nap before the tortoise comes. Tortoise walked slowly and steadily, and soon he passed the hare. When the hare woke up, he saw that tortoise had already passed him and won the race. All the animals cheered that the tortoise won the race.
Once upon a time, when the sun was going down, a wise old rooster flew to a tree near the farm to rest. He flapped his wings and crowed loudly, but suddenly he saw a fox standing below him. The fox was hungry and wanted to gobble up the rooster, so he cunningly and slyly thought and told him in a loud voice, "Have you heard the great news?" The wise rooster was terrified and calmly asked, "And what is the great news?" All the animals have held a peace treaty and agreed to forget their disagreements, and to live in peace and friendship from now on. Just think about it. I can't wait to hug you. Come on, my dear friend, let's celebrate this happy occasion, said the fox. That's great news. I'm definitely happy about this news, said the rooster. Then the rooster stood on his tiptoes as if looking at something afar. The fox anxiously asked, "What do you see, my friend?" "It looks like there are two dogs coming this way. They must have heard the good news and are coming to celebrate with us," replied the rooster. The fox didn't wait to hear the rest and began running. "Wait. Why are you running? The dogs are our friends now," yelled the rooster. "Yes, but maybe they haven't heard the news, and I have an errand I almost forgot," replied the fox. The rooster smiled while tucking his head into his feathers to sleep, for he had overcome a cunning enemy. Only a stupid person treats people as if they're stupid.